When the branch splintered and fell out from under her and she dropped, Yasmina had wished all the branches that broke from her impact had blurred together in a fall that was over before she realized. But if she'd said that, she'd have been lying. The one crack that echoed through her left leg like lightning as it hit the ground was sharp and distinctive. A while later, with Alison gone for help, having left her jacket for her friend to use as a pillow, Horixlik sat next to her, with his legs folded under him. By some miracle, her camera was intact, having landed in a pile of leaves. But Horixlik was in such a panic that when she asked if he would stop pacing and look at the photo, she did manage to get off the bird's nest. His antenna had fluttered frantically, and he stared at her without responding. She got the impression he was trying to see into her head to make sense of her. Is the pain getting worse? I don't think so. As long as I keep perfectly still, it's not agony, it's just horrible. You want any more water? He asked. No, thanks, Yasmina said. Her Horixlik was angled towards her neck, steadfastly staring at her face and ignoring the blood leaking from her leg and seeping into the ground. You said this would be relaxing. I did. You said this forest was the most beautiful place on Earth and it would be the best day ever. I did say that. Her Horixlik let out a fizzy sound from his throat. I'm never going anywhere with you again. That brought a smile to Yasmina's face. Alright, we'll just stay at the dorms from now on. No excursions, not even parties, just class. I think that would be best. Yasmina caught his gaze. You want me to talk about something interesting? Yes, please, Horixlik said, desperate for a distraction. Well, did you know in the early days of computer development, humans were terrified of AI? Horixlik thought on that for a moment. I didn't. In what way? Apparently the first thing we worried about when we thought of computers getting smart enough to think for themselves was that they would kill all of us. A chittering sounded from her friend. What? Why? Yasmina grinned. We didn't think very highly of ourselves, I guess. The AI we imagined would be all-powerful, all-knowing. It would get into Earth's internet, find out all of our horrible secrets, and think we should be destroyed. Or it would just want the planet all for itself and not want to share. Or it would be so much smarter than us that we didn't even know why it did what it was doing. That last one is particularly weird, but creative. Horixlik paused thoughtfully. How do they think that would happen? 1,000 different ways, she sighed. I was a teenager when my nerd phase took me through all the stuff we made around that time. Books, movies, serials. Almost everything was connected online in some way, so this evil AI would jump into the internet, find out how terrible we were, and zoom. It would take off and find a place to hide and attack. It just needed processing power and it could learn at an exponential rate. All our weapons would turn against us. None of the tech we used to keep ourselves alive would work. Or, we'd use robots that were humanoid to do all of the work and one day they'd wake up and be angry they were slaves. Or they'd shapeshift into humans and be unkillable and just keep coming. Shapeshift? Like they were made of nothing but nanobots. I've seen and read a lot of human stuff. That does sound like good fiction, he told her. I'm just still lost at why they thought it would happen. Yasmina flicked her gaze to him. Well, think about it. All-powerful, unstoppable, all-knowing, judging and condemning us for things we did wrong. What does that sound like? Horixlik tilted his head. A god? That's why we're friends. You're so clever. His antenna flicked, self-satisfied. I think that's a part of it. Back then we were destroying the planet, and we knew and kept doing it. And we had no idea how to build the tech to fix it. There were AIs who wanted Earth for themselves, but lots of them just thought of us like a cancer. And, to be honest... She paused. I think some of us thought that too. Well, I know about that part of your history. A lot of species I know about made mistakes like that, mine included, so I kind of understand that. But did anyone think AI would try to fix your planet without just killing everyone to make it easier? Oh, sure. Yasmina replied. But that led to more problems. I mean, it's fiction, you have to have conflict. But the angle they went with was that AI would try to take charge, and humanity, of course, doesn't like to be told what to do. Really? Herixlick tilted his head at her. You don't say. Pursing her lips, she glared at him. Yes, I should have listened to you and not climbed the tree. May I continue? He chittered. There was one serial where the AI helped the creator save lives, but when the creator first started his work, it tried to kill him and his partner, like 100 times or something every time they turned it on. I think they might have had some code issues. Yeah, you think? Yasmina made a face. Even after that, the antagonist made another AI that was a dictator that it had to fight. When you actually started creating AIs, how did everyone react? Oh, that was curious too, because we kept moving the goalposts, she told him, meeting his gaze. At first they said an AI would be something that someone could talk to and believe it was talking to a human. But then we made that and went, well, no, this isn't actually alive. It's just machine learning. Year after year we got better at that, of course, but every time we looked at the code and realized, no, this is cool to talk to, but it's not really alive. On and on. Yeah, that makes sense. Yasmina shook her head slightly. It must have been strange for them. Every year more progress is made with thinking machines, and then they start having problems they never thought would be an issue. Like they didn't want machines to take human jobs because they'd have trouble earning money. But they thought anything creative would be safe. Music, art, books. Then machine learning got better and better. And they got angry that it wasn't something they could fight, didn't they? Exactly right. And it got better. And more machine learning programs were created. We were still making humanoid soldiers and smart weapons, though. And the better we got at it, the more we worried about an AI taking over. But eventually we realized that we'd underestimated ourselves. We worried for so long about what an AI would do if given free rein over the planet. This toxic projection of what we would do if we had that power. And then, I guess, people back then must have started to realize it was a projection. That some chaotic evil entity wasn't the most likely outcome. Her voice grew quiet. We needed to think more about what humans would do with AI if we had the control. Herixlick thought about that for a moment. And you were right. Yeah, eventually, Yasmina grimaced. This was before humans met anyone else, of course. We had enough trouble figuring out whether we believed Earth animals were sentient, sapient, or sophant. Imagine us trying to manage it with something we created from rocks and electricity. Leaning his head back to look into the trees, Herixlick took a deep breath. Everything ended up okay in the end, though. He looked down to her, his face contorted in amusement. Your AIs didn't attempt xenocide, anyway. Yes, true, Yasmina smirked. Then came the explosion of what kinds of rights they needed. That era is surreal. The era of machines are people too. But they aren't people, he pointed out. Humans assumed they wanted to be, I guess, she sighed. Human rights were staggeringly important for centuries, so maybe it was hard to shift gears. And one thing humans are really good at is fighting for something. Fighting for others too, of course. But we tend to make a mess when we fight for something without consulting the people we're fighting for. Humans? Make a mess? No way. I'm never living this down, am I? I'm telling this story at every opportunity for the rest of my life. Herixlick sat up straighter and looked to his left. I hear something. Pushing himself to his feet, he paused. Yeah, I hear an engine. Sure enough, a few minutes later, emergency services pulled up and 2 medics swiftly got to work, dropping to Yasmina's side. Allison walked over quickly. How is she? She asked Herixlick. Still fully conscious and talking. I forced myself to check on the blood loss occasionally and it didn't get too bad. Allison's shoulders lowered as she drooped in relief. Good. I ran as fast as I could. I don't know what we would have done if she cut an artery and we couldn't... Herixlick nodded, squeezing her shoulder briefly. I know. She gave him a tired smile. He paused, glancing to the medics as they ensured Yasmina's leg wouldn't jostle, and then gave her painkillers before moving her onto the stretcher. I was sort of on the verge of freaking out, so she babbled on for me a bit. Talked about early AI. He looked at Allison, whose expression became curious. Do you ever think you might want to be human? Blinking at him, she didn't respond for a few moments. Horixic, I love Yasmina dearly, but you're talking about wanting to be that? She asked, pointing at her friend. The thing that has a bone sticking out of her leg because you wanted to see some baby birds? The thing that their species believes is at adult level intelligence and decided to climb an unstable tree and could have died? And when I asked her if it was worth it, she hesitated? I need to know what would prompt you to ask such a ridiculous question.